Ja, wir gehen vom großen ganzen Bild jetzt ins Detail. Es geht um die Open Edge to Cloud Lösungen. I'm going to switch to English for my guest, Soren. Welcome.
Thank you, Michael. Good to see you.
Hi, Soren.
Good to see you.
So you are a General Manager, EMEA IoT Partner Ecosystems. But before we start, I really have to ask you a question because I wondered, what is that open edge to cloud? Like, what is the concept behind?
That's a fantastic question, Michael, and exactly what I'm here to talk about. So by coincidence, I've prepared a few slides. But really the most important thing here, because we've all gotten used to cloud over the last pretty much decade, really the essence of this is to talk about edge and cloud together. I think this room, with a lot of IoT experience, have been used to the edge, which is literally that, the edge between the physical world and the digital world over time. Really the focus here is how do we make those two work together in a much more seamless way going forward.
And you're going to give us the answer.
Exactly, as I said, by coincidence, I have a few slides prepared. Thank you, Michael, I appreciate it. So first of all, I want to thank Swisscom for the amazing partnership, the great opportunity to be here today. I've always been very impressed. I've worked with Swisscom over the last, 10 plus years. Always been very impressed with your not only vision, but also your courage to actually put vision into execution, which reminds me of a fantastic quote by Edison, one of the best, most famous inventors in the world, that vision without execution is hallucination. And what I'm here to talk to you about is how do we actually make it real? How do we get into execution? And the great partnership we have with Swisscom is a great example of that. As Michael said, I'm Soren Lau. I lead our IoT business in EMEA, but also in Asia. So interesting with Henrik. He is going one direction globally, I'm going the other direction. But it gives a lot of interesting opportunities. I'm getting a lot of personal, I've led the EMEA business for the last 5 years for IoT. And the last 8 months or so, I've been double timing also with our friends and colleagues in Asia, and learning a lot about the interdependencies between the markets from a global perspective. A lot of production of what we work with every day, whether it's sensors or modules, are getting produced in Asia, so we have a dependency there from a supply chain perspective. But I know a lot of you also have either do directly business in Asia, have your own businesses, factories in Asia, or you work with people that have factories in Asia. So there's a lot of very interesting dynamics there that I'm learning a lot about, that I'd love to share a little bit with you about today. So I've been in Microsoft for a long time, for about 20 years, and the world has changed a lot in those 20 years through technology. I've had to change with it, and have to constantly challenge my own mindset to what is possible. That bar has moved and will continue to move. So getting used to being uncomfortable, getting used to not knowing all the answers, I think is the way forward. At least that's what I've learned, and what the partnerships that we have is teaching us all the time. So having that open mind to change. So really at the personal level, I've learned a lot about the balance of not just IQ, which is kind of table stakes in our business, like intelligence, but also the EQ, which we've talked a lot about over the last couple of decades, emotional intelligence. How do you actually engage and talk to people, help them envision and learn both ways in the partnerships that you have. But also recently, a lot of research has started talking about AQ, adaptability intelligence. And I probably couldn't summarize at least my time in IoT better than all the learning I've gained on the need for adaptability and building that muscle to always be adapting, always be ready to respond to the ever-changing environment. But with that introduction, I just want to talk a little bit about how we think about IoT. And really for us, even though I run a partner organization, our mantra is customer first, but partner always. I'll talk about that a little later as well. It's really about customer first. It's about what are the biggest business problems that customers have today, or business opportunities. I always look at the glass half full. What are the opportunities out there? How can you transform a business model? How do you take a legacy business of whether it's building cables or elevators or whatever you're producing, and how do you use technology to actually either reduce your costs, make your supply chain much more efficient, or even change your business model. Go from selling parts and machines to renting them out as a service, and by that, making your customers more successful. These are just a few stats that we are seeing when we do research of how customers are embracing what I call edge to cloud. I only talk about IoT when I talk about the technology, but this is really about embracing the edge and gaining all that intelligence into your system, working the data. Data is just data until you actually turn it into insights that you can act on. And the more real time it is, the more you can empower your organizations to gain those opportunities. One of the key reasons that we want to light up the edge is to create what we here call digital feedback loops, which sounds very fancy. What it really is about is both in your engagements with your customer, your operations, your products, and your employees, to gain these digital signals from your different parts of your business, get them into your system so you can actually start to gain those insights that I talked about. But these feedback loops, again, which sounds very fancy, that's really what it's all about. For you to gain all of that intelligence, real time, into your business decision making. You can even now, with digital twin technology, on factories, you can make simulations, which was very expensive in the past. If you wanted to change a production line or change a certain critical process in your production, what you could really do is ask the guy or the gal that had been on the floor for 20 years and said, hey, what if we did this, and let's test this out, and let's try that out. That could be really expensive if it wasn't a great decision. Today, you can make a digital twin copy of your entire production environment, and there you can do all the playing that you want without the risk of making mistakes. Do the optimization before you actually put it into real life. That's an example of a digital twin, a digital feedback loop. So, to Michael's question before, we've all gotten used to cloud over the last, decade plus. It started with, and this is my term, cloud 1.0. How do I actually take all the servers in the basement and move my data storage and my systems to the cloud so I don't have to keep those things on anymore and buy new ones every other year and worry about the power they consume and the heat they produce. How do I move that to the cloud? That was kind of the first iteration. Now we're actually at a much more advanced opportunity. Technology has made so many more scenarios possible for us, no matter what industry you're in, and I'll get back to that in a second. But really what it's about is this worldview that we've talked about for a couple of years about the intelligent cloud and the almost limitless compute power that gives, not just limitless, but also anywhere in the world, with the high dependency on, of course, the connectivity. As I said, I've been in Microsoft for 20 years. I started in our OEM division, and we worked with Windows Embedded. We worked with Windows CE. That was the first start of smart devices. And at some point, somebody figured out how to connect it. In the beginning, you needed a cable, which is great. It was stable, but it didn't give you a lot of flexibility in terms of how you could actually use this. This is where what Henrik talked about with 5G and the explosion of actually being able to have connected environments pretty much anywhere in the world, no matter how remote and your scenario might be. But really, to Michael's question, really the key point here is the edge point, which is powered by IoT technology and powered by the opportunity we have with the immense connectivity advances we've seen in the last 3 to 4 years, especially. So, doing a little bit of a double click on this, and I'm speaking to people that are probably deeper experts on part of this than I am. But it's really about all the way down to the connected device, all the way down to the silicon, actually, because you want to have also security at the edge, just like you expected at the cloud. It doesn't matter how secure the cloud is. If the device isn't secured, and your connection isn't either. But it really comes down to all the way down to the connected device, the actual single component sensor or module that you might have, to connected systems, where we can push AI all the way to the edge, to the data center, and then to the cloud. Whether it's in a hybrid scenario where you have partly your own data center and some in the cloud, we can run intelligence at all parts of this value chain, and hopefully that makes sense. When we talk about a single control plane here, this is the point about Windows Arc at the bottom. We're really looking to stitch together in a very seamless way, because this has been, for the ones that have been around on the journey for a while, this hasn't been easy in the past. So all of our effort and all of our investment and product development is going into creating this seamless opportunity that starts with the connected device all the way throughout to the cloud. And what Azure Arc gives you is this consistent, as we call it, secure, both the security, the identity management, as well as the connectivity, stitching all of that together in an environment where you can work with it across. In the past, we've had to do a lot of stitching together, both at the customer side, and that meant also our partners had to get really experts at this. Now we can spend our time focusing on where the real business value is, because all of this is going to work together in a very seamless way. I talked a few times about our ecosystem. It's even in the name of the group that I run. But really, this takes a village. There is no such thing as an IoT successful implementation without multiple partners being involved. It's really about all the way from the hardware vendor, the IHV. I use a lot of acronyms here, so I'll try to translate. There's a lot of internal lingo. But IHVs are hardware vendors, to the device maker, to the connectivity provider. You see both the telco providers being called out here, as well as system integrators, solution providers. So whether it's the partner that produces the hardware, the one that produces the application, the ISV, the software vendor, the system integrator, all of this has to work together in order to be successful for you, for the customer. So my best advice is leverage us. Pull us in sooner the better. We really want to work with you already at the envision stage. As I talked about in the beginning, vision without execution is hallucination. But you have to have the vision first, right? Because execution without a vision is just stuff. You're just doing stuff. So we really want to engage with you very early in the process, no matter if you're in manufacturing or the energy sector or retail, to start talking about what is actually possible in my specific industry. And as I said, different industries need different solutions, but we're ready to work with you across all of these. We have industry experts. We're the experts at IoT. We know how to envision. We have industry experts as well that are very, very deep on manufacturing. Please pull us in as early as possible. We've got many, but in the spirit of making it real, this is all about reference cases. And the sooner we start talking, the better. Because depending on what the scenario you have or the opportunity that you see and want to unlock, whether you're in manufacturing or in retail or in healthcare, I can guarantee you that are people that have tried the same or at least have the same vision. We can help you pull together the reference cases. We can help recommend the partner set, meaning not just the one partner, because there's rarely one partner that can do it all, but the partner set that can address exactly the opportunity that you're looking to address. Doing a little bit of a double click on one of these, because each of these, it of course gets very complex very quickly, as you know. If you're in retail, it's not just like, oh, here's the one solution to rule them all, and we have the answer to everything. It really depends on what you're trying to do. But to do a little bit of a double click into manufacturing, you see we go down to the use case level. So whether you're looking at transforming your workforce, or whether you're looking to create a more resilient supply chain, especially at times right now when we're seeing earlier was mentioned, the geopolitical challenges that are going on, the pressure that's on the supply chain, silicon shortages, all of these things are getting more and more important. not to mention the soaring energy prices. I mean, just filling up your car is a very interesting experience these days, right? And we're experiencing at home with the electric bills that we're getting. Much worse when we're talking about the industries that are highly dependent on energy prices as part of their production cost. So, of course, you want to have a look at this. And we have amazing, which has legs into kind of the sustainability. But again, we have to make it real. This has legs into some of these scenarios. I've just picked 3 use cases that we see a lot of interest in right now. And just to pick one of them, the middle one, building energy management. Just have a read-through with Intesa San Paulo use case. They saved 2 million euros on their electric bills, 15%. So it doesn't have to be more exotic than if you own a building, do you want to save 15% on your electric bill? I think so. That's already a scenario right there. It doesn't even have to get more complex than that. And I think actually that 2 million euros was done, that calculation and business case was done before the energy prices started skyrocketing. So that number is going to look even better. But so my whole point is pretty much for any scenario, any industry, there will be a value in embracing the edge as part of your thinking into your data environment. As I said earlier, love the partnership we have with Swisscom. They've always been at the front edge of not just having the vision, but also having the courage to go into execution and adopting new technology. I can say the same for all of the customer names on this list. Whether it's Thermoplan, who was one of the early pioneers, we started back in 2017, whether it's Kio, a great startup partner that we have that has invented a module, a Guardian module based on Azure Sphere, coupled it with cellular connectivity, and they're selling to customers all around the world as we speak. But I could pick any one of these, and if I am to sum it up, being from Denmark, I feel very at home here in Switzerland. Things just work. And people want to talk value. They want to talk business value. How do I create more value from my operation and in my business? But I could go on and on about this list, but did want to highlight this and the underlying, I'd say, theme that I see with any engagement I have in Switzerland is this both, you could say, courage to have the vision, but equally the conviction to put it into execution. I do want to have a little bit of a conversation. As I said at the beginning, I've had the privilege for the last almost a year to lean into the Asian market as well. And of course, thinking about Asia, China, of course, comes up as a big opportunity. I know several of you are doing business there either directly, have production facilities there, or are working with customers in China. But look at the graph here. It's quite mind-blowing. When you look at I don't even know what the number is, 1,100 billion. I don't even know what that number is, but it's a lot. Let's just say big numbers. But look at the pie chart up at the top right. I find that very fascinating. That according to GSMA, the IoT spend is pretty much split in these 3 chunks. There's China, there's Western Europe, which we're sitting right in the heart of. There's US, and then there's the rest. But it's very interesting to see that the IoT spend in China is actually, I know it's marginally bigger, but they are saying that the IoT spend in China, because of all the manufacturing facilities, because of all the heavy industry business that's going on there, the IoT spend there will soar in the next couple of years. So very interesting, and of course then, great fact, great number, 1,100 billion. You know, that's a big number. If I could just get 1% of that, I'll take it, and but really to understand what are then the key use cases. What are we seeing there? And again, not to drain the slides or go into detail, because every single one of these lines could be a half hour itself. But really, both in manufacturing, smart spaces and retail, but also auto and logistics, we're seeing some very interesting I would say, gravity around these specific use cases. ADT, by the way, stands for Azure Digital Twin. We're seeing a lot of interest from international companies that have facilities there to leverage what I talked about earlier, literally taking digital copies of the factory and being able to, I would almost say, play with the different scenarios around your manufacturing supply chain and your manufacturing processes to see how you can actually optimize before you put it into to real life. We're seeing a lot of interest there from, as I said, a lot of big players that are seeing this as an opportunity to really optimize their operation. So, to bring it to a bit of a conclusion, as I started talking about at a personal level, both the IQ, the EQ, and the AQ, the adaptability intelligence and the need for that at a personal level, I could almost say the same at an organizational level and exchange these three bubbles with those to be at a personal level. But it really it takes a holistic approach. I think most of you have probably seen this as soon as you go into it. It is not just about the technology. I love the technology. God knows I've been in Microsoft for 20 years. But what I love even more is what it enables and what it can do for us in terms of how we can change our businesses, how we can change our processes, in how we develop product, in how we engage with customers, and how we develop our products, our operations. So it really takes this holistic approach. And as I said, please invite us in as early as possible, even at the envisioning stage. We'll be more than happy to lean in with you and say, well, if this is exactly what you're looking at, these are a couple of reference cases where you can get inspiration. We're more than happy to recommend the partner sets for you to then work with moving forward and make it real. As I said, a vision without execution is hallucination. We have to make it real. But really, one of the key ingredients here is actually the change management, being conscious about the effort it will take, not just at the personal level of flexing your AQ, your adaptability, intelligence, but also how you bring that through your organization, the change management, the change leadership that it will take also at an organizational level. But with that, I'll just say thank you again for the opportunity to Egon and Michael, and invite you back up.
Thank you, Soren. Thank you. So what I got from the Open to Edge cloud is lots of energy saving, and the energy not used is the cleanest energy you can have.
Energy saved is energy saved. True.
Yeah. You spoke about this ever-growing community. So how do you navigate as a company? How do you navigate to find the right partners?
That's a great question. I mean, because as I said, and you saw the slide here, it is a complex environment. And what we're really doing is, and as I said, our mantra is customer first, but partner always. We always start with a customer first mindset of double-clicking on the industry, whether that's manufacturing, energy, retail, finding out the key customer signals, what are the key use cases customers want to do. Then we look at who are the best partners and partner sets to help light that up that we can work with. We think about this almost this like magical triangle or balance. As you can see, my head works in threes, but between the Microsoft, what I would call first-party technology, what we develop, what the partners, their capabilities, and the IP that they build, and then the customer. And it has to be a perfect balance between the three in order to achieve what all of us want, which is the business value for the customer.
And there needs to be a lot of trust.
And that builds on trust and builds over time, right? So, but trust is an absolute must-have ingredient.
So thank you very much, Soren, for being here.
Thank you.
I think we see you around at the
Absolutely.
booth. Okay.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.